Welcome back, Star Wars fans, to the Hyperspace Database. I'm Jonesy the Mandalorian, your humble host here, with today's topic, the TX-225 Occupier Tank. The Imperial TX-225 GAVw Occupier Tank was a combat assault tank developed by Rothana Heavy Engineering, who produced the popular LAAT gunship and the ATTE Walker, as well as many other ships for the Grand Army of the Republic. The Occupier was 24 feet long and 6 feet high. It had a maximum top speed of 48 miles per hour on road and 28 miles per hour off-road. It was armored with a special duranium composite armor and was operated by a commander, a driver, and a gunner. It was armed with 3 sets of Dimec medium laser cannons, with 2 elevating cannons on each side of the body and 1 forward locked set that was right underneath the very front of the tank. It also had a mount for a detachable blaster turret on the topmost commander's hatch, though this was a customizable feature that was not issued on the standard model. The GAVw assault tank was developed by the Empire sometime after the end of the Clone Wars, and was used by the Imperial Army in cities and urban areas that were too narrow for larger walkers to easily navigate, like the congested streets of Jeddah seen in Rogue One. This tank was very interesting because it had physical tracks instead of operating with repulsor lift engines, which was pretty rare to see in the Star Wars universe, though not unheard of, as we see treads on the infamous TIE Crawler and TIE Mauler, which reached varying degrees of success while they were in Imperial service. The GAVw was very maneuverable and was also very well armored. It was used for heavy cargo transportation as well as for keeping the peace with its heavy weaponry. It could also be used as a troop transport in an emergency, and could resupply Allied units with its AD-GT-1500 engines, providing the speed and power necessary to transport heavy arms over a large distance very quickly. It was about the same size as a large speeder truck, which was a common sight in the Star Wars galaxy used to transport goods to and from marketplaces across vast distances. This tank was extremely well armed for being so small, with its 3 sets of medium laser cannons being more than enough to deal with enemy infantry units in a frontal assault, and with its crew safely tucked away, it was hard to crack the shell of the reinforced duranium hull. That is, unless it was struck at the weak spot underneath the belly of the craft with a powerful grenade or other weapon. A cutaway of the tank shows that each crew member sits tightly packed into the limited space of the vehicle, with sensor systems and controls surrounding each member of the crew, though the gunner's seat could be raised and lowered for better viewing of the surrounding terrain, and the commander was able to stand in his position to lead surrounding troops, as well as duck down into the tank when necessary to avoid enemy fire. This tank was first introduced in the movie Rogue One, when the Imperial Army invades the holy city of Jeddah to strip the local temples of the incredibly rare and powerful Kyber crystals. As Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor attempt to find Saw Gerrera and his band of rebels, they witness an occupier tank patrolling the city streets, where it is carefully watched from the shadows. After a skirmish breaks out between Saw's rebels and the Empire, a rebel manages to take advantage of the weaker underbelly of the tank and lob a very well-thrown grenade to spell the occupier's doom. This doesn't lead to an easy victory for the rebels, though, as a squadron of Imperial reinforcements arrive, complete with an AT-ST Walker and its fearsome firepower, though the Walker was somewhat hampered by the narrow streets and low-hanging archways that ran throughout the city. Here's a fun fact. The Occupier tank was first identified as the Imperial Assault Hover Tank by LEGO sets of Rogue One prior to the movie's release, even though this model has physical treads on it. It was later confirmed that this model was not an actual hover tank, but there are several toys that kept the incorrect designation. While the GAVw was a treaded vehicle, there was an alternate version of the Occupier that was a repulsor lift vehicle, dubbed the GAVr, which is the version of Occupier tank that we see in the Rebels TV show, commanded by Governor Pryce on the planet Lothal, in the 4th season of the show. This tank was used to pursue the fleeing rebels after they steal a hyperdrive unit and flight recorder from the experimental TIE Defender, and is used to smash through the makeshift barrier that the rebels had used just prior to their retreat. The tank is also seen in the show patrolling the streets of Lothal in search of downed rebel pilots, and yet another set of them are seen confronting the rebels as they attempt to flee using a stolen speeder, which is quickly destroyed by the Occupier's laser cannons. This tank was nearly identical to the GAVw, the only major difference being that it did not possess the tread system and instead relied on its repulsor lift systems to maneuver. The GAVw tank is not only seen in Star Wars movies and shows, but a physical version of the craft is featured in the tabletop game Star Wars Legion, where it has its own detailed playing piece as well as card set and individual tokens, and this model features the optional blaster turret on top of the commander's hatch. There was also a LEGO model of the Occupier Tank, which featured minifigures of 2 tank troopers and a Chirrut Imwe figure with his light bow weapon. The Occupier Tank was an essential part of the ground forces for the Empire, and excelled in navigating narrow city streets and tight locations. With its formidable firepower and reinforced duranium hull, it was easy to see why this tank was a preferred choice over many other less maneuverable land vehicles. Want to know more about great Star Wars topics just like this one? Check out my other videos, hit those like and subscribe buttons, and the bell to never miss an episode that I publish. Be sure to chat with me in the comments because I really want to talk to you. Super special shout out to my Gold Captain level Patreon supporters Miss 2003, Matthew Scott, and Nick Sutphin. Your support is so appreciated and you keep the show going. Thank you so very much. Be sure to check out my other videos as well as this one up here you might be interested in, and you can follow the show on social media for more news and channel updates. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.